Hi, my name is Michael,
And I'm Leila.
and we are here with our new podcast that almost has a name. We're very excited about almost having a name. Next week, it's
Hmm.
going to be for real.
Yes, we'll have a name by next week and we'll be able to intro that. But for now, we're still thinking through things.
Yeah, which is, it's okay. We're taking our time. We're not going to do anything too hasty with this thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. But we're talking about stuff, and we have a topic for today. Oh my God, that's our name. We're talking about stuff.
Okay. Actually, I like that.
It's sort of,
Hold on. Let me look that up.
whoa, what if we decide the name right now
That's what I'm
in
hoping will
the podcast?
happen. Like, we're talking about stuff.
Oh my gosh. Come on.
I think we're good. The Stuff podcast? No. What were we talking about? The podcast where we talk about things and stuff? We're talking about stuff.
I love that. Is
And
that
then
it?
we could do we're talking about stuff with Michael and Layla, but like we wouldn't have to
Yeah.
make that a okay.
Oh,
I
and
think
that
we
could
just
be,
came up with a name.
and our intro could be us saying our names, and then we'll say the name of the podcast, which says what we're doing. We're talking about stuff.
Love it.
All
That was
right.
you. You just thought of that. Okay. Let's see if it's on YouTube as well. It's available.
Oh my God, grab it before it's too late.
Where is it okay? There's not going to be you can't put that in, right? Yeah, okay. So it's just going to be, you know how there's supposed to be the apostrophe and
Yeah,
okay.
I think it's okay.
But I can put that in the title, talking about stuff
I love it. We're talking about stuff.
with Michael and Layla.
Oh, it's so good.
Okay, perfect.
Should we restart, or are we just gonna let that be the intro where we think of the name?
Let's keep that in. I like that. That's
Okay.
fun. If you're cool with it, I'm cool with it.
Yeah, I love it. I think it's really kind of fun that we decided the name while recording.
Yeah. Okay.
All
No,
right.
I was hoping that would happen. Like we would, like I was saying, like if there's some sort of phrase we say or just in naturally talking, that's perfect. We're talking
Yeah.
about stuff and we are. So,
Yeah. And we're
okay.
talking about stuff specifically, kind of comparing and contrasting our experience as people who are in different generations, which even
Hmm.
already when I mentioned that, it seems so I never really leaned into the separation of generation types.
Hmm.
Um, and as we've been talking already on the podcast, I'm even less likely to do that. I mean, we have different experiences because of what happened in
Hmm.
our lives, but I don't think it really makes us so much different.
Mm-mm. No, I agree. It's really not that different. It just feels that way because of like the stereotypes of generations, I think.
Yeah, yeah. It makes me think oh, that's got to be another topic. There's so many topics to talk about.
Really, there are, yeah.
We should say today's topic could potentially be sort of heavy for people.
Hmm.
We're going to be talking about addiction and alcoholism and our experience as kids with that in our houses and
Hmm.
our experience as adults with drinking and drugs and all that kind of stuff.
Yep.
So be aware of that, listeners, viewers.
Where should we start with this? I guess
Well, we both
childhood.
have, yeah, I mean, we both have that in common.
Hmm.
This is sort of hard to talk. I think
It
one
is
of the things
hard.
that's interesting about this podcast is that we know each other. We've known each other for a long time, but
Hmm.
mostly, I mean, a long time, a little over a year, I guess.
Yeah.
But we have never really talked about this kind of stuff. I mean, you've been
Mm-mm.
coaching me on finances,
Hmm.
so we haven't gone deep in this stuff. So I think part of me is still a little bit like, I don't want to ask too many questions, but that's
Oh,
what
I don't
we're doing
care.
here. Yeah.
I think the only thing for me is I definitely dealt with this growing up. Like alcoholism was in my family, specifically my mom, but even beyond that, like her mom and her dad and even their parents. So I think for me, it's not just about me, like it's about my mother as well. And she's still in my life, of course. So I don't want to say anything like that's her story to tell. So yeah, there's certain things that I probably can't even talk about with this just because I wouldn't want to air her all
Hmm.
of her life and stuff. But I'm absolutely open to talking about. You can ask me anything, I don't care. We can talk
Um,
anything.
After all that, the question is, so what role did alcoholism play in your childhood? It's very vague, but
Yeah. Yeah, I know that I don't remember when it first started, elementary school for sure. Alcohol was always around. I know that I wasn't exactly aware that it was alcohol, I know at that age. But my mom would always drink orange juice and vodka, I think.
that's what my mom drank too.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. And so it looked good. Like her
Yeah.
drink looked good. So I was like, can I have some orange juice? Like as a little kid. And she'd be like, no, get your own. I'm like, why can't I have your orange juice? I never understood that. I remember her being like drunk and having like heavy eyes. I'm
Hmm.
like, why do you look like that? I remember her asking, like, what's wrong with your face? Like, what's wrong with your eyes? And it's because um she was drunk and I didn't fully understand that. And it grew into like a hatred of alcohol for me for sure. Like as I got older, maybe into early middle school, I remember like seeing the vodka in the freezer or whatever, and I wanted to like pour it down the sink, and I would be like, "Oh, I'm gonna do it," but I never did because obviously, like, it's not mine. Yeah, so it was always around, but I didn't completely understand it until like bad things started happening.
Yeah. How old were you, like in that time frame when would see the vodka in the freezer? When
Probably like nine, from 9 to 11. My parents got divorced when I was 12. So I lived with my dad after that. So after 12, my mom was still in my life, but I did not live with her. And yeah, but even still, it like continued to affect like her and our life. So
yeah.
how about you?
Um, I was around the same. I was in, for whatever reason, I remember it was in fourth grade when my mom stopped drinking.
Okay.
Um, but I remember, I think I said this last episode. There are a lot of times that I have a memory, and just lately I've been finding out, like in conversations with my sister, different things that I'll say, like, "Oh yeah, what such and such happened," and she'll be like, "That never happened." Like there are a lot of times that I kind of create
Mm,
memories or I remember things in a weird way, like I just kind of over the years just filled in the blanks somehow.
yeah.
But I think I remember knowing how to make her drinks, like knowing how to make her. That's not, I don't think that's true. Now, as I'm saying that out loud, I'm like, wait, I never made like a screwdriver for my mom. Like,
Uh-huh.
but I do remember her drinking kind of the same way when I was a kid. Like, I didn't know it was sort of unusual for her to be drinking in
Hmm.
the morning. Um, but it was. I think she tried to stop drinking by herself, and she was addicted. And like there was a period of time, I think it was probably just a few days, but it seemed like a really long time when I was a kid, where she was like going through like withdrawal really bad, like
Mm-hmm.
hallucinating. And there were just these weird, it was very weird because my dad would like sort of just go along with whatever the hallucination was. So I remember me and my brother would be like, "What? What is going on?" Like she says there's like a spider. There's no
Hmm.
spider. And now my
Mm.
dad's trying to stomp on this spider. And we're like, "Wait, what is happening?"
Wow.
Ultimately, she got really like really sick. She was like having convulsions, this whole thing. And our neighbor,
Wow.
I think my dad was sort of like embarrassed about the whole thing. And I mean, I'm just guessing. So he didn't, I think he was trying to just handle it.
Hmm.
But yeah, our neighbor was in AA and
Hmm.
like somehow found out what was going on. I was like, okay, so she needs a hospital.
Hmm.
So she wound up going to treatment and then she never drank again after that.
Wow, that's good.
Yeah. And then
Yeah.
she divorced my dad. Like, came back. The things she used to always say, and my mom passed away like 10 years ago, 11 years ago.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
she always mentioned how when he picked her up from treatment, he was drinking a beer in the car. And that's when she
Oh,
was like, oh yeah, this is I think this is part of the problem. So
yeah.
they got divorced. And I stayed with my mom, which was
Mm.
yeah, and just kind of a contrast to you staying with your dad.
Yeah. 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 My mom did get, she did start AA meetings, but that led to more problems. because of who she met there,
Uh,
um, which led to some infidelity. And that, I mean, my parents were on the verge of divorce already. Like, I remember crying. We were eating spaghetti, and I will never forget this night because they were like arguing or something. And my sister and I were eating spaghetti. My dad's good, like, he makes this olive oil, parsley, garlic pasta, and it was that. And he was like trying to get us to eat, but we're like crying because they were arguing, and we're like, when are you gonna just get a divorce? You know, like we wanted them to get a divorce, but then ultimately through her alcoholism and then the AA meetings, she met somebody and did have an affair with this man, which led to like more problems for her because he was not a great person. Yeah, so it definitely led her down a pretty bad path. And I think she tried the AA, like I think she was sober for some time, but then would like go back. I'm really not sure. Like she was still in my life, but it wasn't like that was something that we frequently talked about, you know, after when she left the house.
mm. My mom met someone in AA too, and she married him, and
Okay.
so like not good. He
Oh,
couldn't stay
really?
sober. Yeah,
Yeah. No, neither could this guy.
yeah.
Yeah.
But my mom did like somehow, which I'm always like, that's solid. Like she really had a hard time with alcohol. Like,
Hmm.
and she was like physically addicted and was
Hmm.
able to like, okay, that's it. I'm done. She
Yeah.
did AA for a while, but I don't remember her doing it any longer than like a couple of years.
Okay. Yeah, I don't remember how long or if my mom even like was consistent with it. I do remember her like having chips like in the car, like the little chips that they always give out. But I don't remember how many she got or
Yeah.
what that looked like. I know she's good today. From my understanding, she drinks here and there,
Mm.
but it's not a problem. Uh, at least I would hope not. But
Yeah.
and also my dad drinks very heavily, actually. So my dad, he's not an alcoholic, and growing up, he was always drinking beers. Like that was the most common thing I saw him drinking. But then when he married my stepmom is she's from Azerbaijan, but she's Russian. And in Russia, vodka's huge, you know. They
Yeah.
love their vodka. So he always is with her brother and he just shot, shot, shot like the whole night when I go to his house. They'll finish a whole big bottle of Grey Goose just between like two or three people. And he does that frequently. So it's and he doesn't like drive or anything. It's always at his house. It's very social drinking, but I don't like it. Like I think I personally I believe that alcohol is like the worst thing that you can do to your body. Like I would say it's in my opinion probably worse than like smoking or even some drugs. So I
Yeah.
don't know. I think it's pretty bad. Plus it's legal, so that's the thing where it's like it's such a bad thing and it's legal. So
Yeah. And it's socially acceptable to just
yeah,
anywhere, really.
yeah, it's
I guess
crazy.
not anywhere, but like it's a thing people do to socialize.
Hmm.
So it's easy to drink a lot without noticing. Like
Yeah, yeah. And people encourage it even, of course. So,
we had like different, well, it's sort of same because we think we talked about this a little bit before, where because I watched my mom go through all that, I was like, oh,
hmm.
I'm never drinking.
Yep,
And you were that way too, if I remember right.
yep,
I didn't stick to it.
yeah. And
Um,
you became an alcoholic yourself,
yeah,
right? Okay.
yeah. Um, which is so it's ironic, but it's kind of just also kind of in AA they call it a family disease.
Hmm.
And
Yeah, it is.
yeah, so I mean that's what how I guess I learned how to cope with things.
Hmm.
But all the way I didn't drink all the way through high school, and obviously you didn't either.
Mm-mm.
Except for one, like the first time I drank, I was at my friend's house and we we took wine coolers out of his parents' like refrigerator. I don't, are wine
Hmm.
coolers even a thing anymore?
I have no clue. You're asking the wrong person.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, of
I have
course.
no clue.
And I got so drunk I was like barfing in his backyard.
Oh no.
Time I drank.
Yeah.
And I think that was in that moment I was like, oh yeah, that's right. I'm not going to do this. This is not good. I'm not.
Hmm.
I understood that like I was likely to also be an alcoholic if I drank.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah.
But you continued.
Yeah, I mean I stopped for a while there and then I ultimately started again, probably when I was 18 or 19.
Okay.
Sort of started I started college. I was studying radio television production because I was sort of
Okay.
too scared to study music. And
Hmm.
and then I kind of came out. All this stuff happened at the same time. I came out, I flunked out of school. Um, I think it's also notable that like during my senior year in high school, my mom, for whatever reason, decided to stop treating my ADHD. And
Mm,
like I almost immediately flunked out of everything. And then I had a hard time with college and I wasn't really interested in it anyway. So all
yeah.
that kind of like cratered and I came out and started going to gay bars and like dance clubs, like
Hmm.
late 80s, and having so much fun. And my friends I was meeting were taking drugs and drinking. So I was like, okay, I guess this is what I do now.
Yeah.
So I was kind of off to the races.
Hmm. How bad did it get for you? Like, and how long were you drinking for? How many years?
Um, I I'm guessing like that period started when I was around 19 or 20, and I
Hmm.
stopped drinking and drugs when I was 25.
Okay. So that's not too long. That's
Yeah.
good.
And it's fine. Like one of the things I noticed, I used to always kind of, because sometimes when you go to AA, like you hear people just kind of talk a lot about how bad it was in a way. It's almost, especially when I first started going, it felt like almost like a competition in a way. And there was
Hmm.
a lot of times like, oh, I didn't lose anything.
Hmm.
But then I realized like, oh, because I never had anything. Like, I never
Yeah.
really got my life started. So there wasn't really anything for me to lose. And I was used to like having like an apartment that, oh my God, I can't really pay the rent. Let me figure out something else. I'm staying with a friend now. I have this other roommate. Like I think I was really lucky because there were a lot of times I remember driving really drunk or
Oh, wow.
on
Hmm.
like having taken ecstasy or whatever. And
Hmm.
like those moments, I remember the moments of like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Driving like this.
Hmm.
And then, but I was already driving. So, but I remember a lot of moments like that, thinking back and looking back at it, I'm like, I was really lucky. Like I didn't
Yeah.
myself or somebody else.
Right. Right.
So, I mean, it didn't get that bad,
Hmm.
but only because I was really lucky, I think. I think
Yeah.
emotionally, like I was really not in a good place. I'm very depressed and like I couldn't like figure out how to move forward in my life and I couldn't connect the fact that part of it was I was partying all the time, spending all my money on going out,
Hmm.
and yeah, and alcohol is the depressant. So,
Yeah. So you were
oh,
using it to cope.
yeah, and it was really all I did socially. Like, I would go out to clubs. I loved music, of course,
Hmm.
like I still do. So there was a club in Houston called Numbers. It's still there, and they have like a classic Numbers night where they play the exact same music they've been playing since then.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, it's really fun. Um, but it was just that was like my home away from home and all my friends. Actually was a really cool place because it's
Hmm.
very diverse. Like there were like college bros, gay people, drag people, like
Hmm.
sorority girls, like all different like walks of life. And it was the first
Yeah.
place I went that I was able to be out and gay because it was
Hmm.
the like late 80s, early 90s in Texas
Yeah.
where I would sort of be like, oh no, what's this guy going to say to me? And everyone was like, whatever. Like, we're all just on a bunch of drugs anyway.
Yeah.
Um, but there were sober people there too, I'm sure. But
Yeah. Very few, probably.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
No, my mom did get also she did get a DUI and was arrested. And I think it was like she was driving, but also she was pulled over when she got arrested because her and the guy that she met at AA were arguing, like, and somebody called the cops on them, I think.
oh wow.
So, but then she was arrested. And I remember that, like, that was I think at that time I was maybe 12 or 13 when that happened. And it was just a confusing time. I think the hard part about that was like going, I'm sure, there's other situations that are much worse than going through that. But it was like going to school and just pretending nothing was wrong when like you knew that things were wrong back at home. It was, I remember going to school and feeling that way. Like you just have to smile and act natural, basically, which
Yeah.
was, yeah, I remember feeling that way. And I don't think anybody bailed her out for like she sat in jail for a few days because I think she called her mom. Um, and I think it took a few days for like they let her stay in there.
Uh,
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah. And I think do you like driving under the influence is like, yeah, one of the worst. Obviously, it's affected a lot of people in the world, which is
Yeah.
very messed up for, and usually the person who's driving drunk, nothing happens to them, you know? It's
Yeah.
always the person they hit that something ends up happening. So that's yeah, very, very upsetting. Yeah, for me, it was I did not want to drink because of that. Honestly, I don't think I would get addicted. I don't have like you know how some people have an addictive personality? I don't feel like I have that. There's certain things that like yes, I you know, like sweets. I really like sweets, for example, but I feel like I can give things up if I needed to. So I don't think I would become an alcoholic per se. Like my sister drinks and she is not an alcoholic. And she went through the same things I experienced, but I just knew like even still I just don't want to drink for multiple reasons. So that's a big one. It's in the family, but also I really like to be clear-headed. Like I
Hmm.
don't want any lack of control with my body. That really terrifies me. Like in especially in a social situation where somebody could like take advantage of you or if I'm just like not 100%, that kind of scares me. And it doesn't taste good to me. Like
Hmm.
I've had sips of alcohol. That's the most I've ever had is like a sip of my sister's drink or my friend's drink. I don't think it tastes good. Like I could just have a Diet Coke and be way happier, you know, or like water, lemonade or something.
Yeah.
Or a mocktail, even like they're just super sugary drinks. And then it burns going down. Like I've had sips and I'm like immediately, ugh, it hurts.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I've never even been tipsy or anything close to it. Just little sip and that's it.
Wow. It's really interesting. When you talk about the way it burns, I remember learning how to drink because
Uh-huh.
like your body is a little like, what are you doing? Like
It's
this is
poison.
burning me. Like,
Yeah.
but then you learn how to do it. And I remember like for a period of time, like tequila shots were the thing that I was like really into. And
Hmm.
I really started craving that burn, like
Interesting.
really
Yeah.
wanting to have that feeling. And when I got it, I was like, like this
Mm,
is, I mean, there was a lot of emotional stuff going on. I'm sure like that was me, that was my relief, like in a lot of
yeah.
ways. Like, okay, I don't have to think about all this stuff I think about all the time,
Interesting.
or whatever it was.
Yeah.
Um, but there were a lot of times, like I remember trying to learn how to drink martinis at one point because I was like, I'm going to be very sophisticated now. I'm going to be, and I could never get used to those because I was like, if I'm going to drink a martini, it's going to be gin, which tastes like rubbing alcohol. It's
Yeah.
really bad. And I hate olives, which are also in martinis. But
Right.
it's just such a weird. I smoked cigarettes then too, and I had to
For
learn.
those the few years that
Yeah,
you were
yeah.
okay.
I think I smoked a couple years after I got sober too,
Okay.
before I stopped. But
That's
there's some
crazy.
things like it's very puzzling to me to be like having all those years of like, oh yeah, don't drink, stay away from that stuff. I hated my mom's cigarettes, I hated her smoking,
Hmm.
and then I just leaned right on into it. And like
Interesting.
having to force yourself to do something like that, like what was I, why did we do that?
Hmm.
Why did I do that?
Yes. Did you feel pressured from the people around you too? Like, did they encourage it?
I don't remember anyone pressuring me to drink
Hmm.
or take drugs, but I think I was like, I was just really like, oh, that's what everyone's doing. I just kind of wanted to.
Okay.
And then the smoking, I feel like I had friends that smoked that were like, please don't smoke. Like I like they wanted to quit and it was too
Yeah.
hard. But I still did it. I would, yeah. I just thought for some reason there was like a kind of persona I wanted to have and smoking was
Hmm.
part of it. I think because I kind of came off as maybe a kind of a goody goody and
Hmm.
I wanted to be a little more edgy.
I see.
Cigarettes were what did the trick.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I never cared about like any time in social settings. One in high school and stuff, I would see the the party people. They were like the popular crew, I suppose. I was not part of that. Never went to parties in high school or like those spring break trips where I would hear like these horror stories of them like yeah, it was just awful what I would hear about from high school. Never
Yeah.
did that. So I was never like pressured in any way. And if anybody did try to like nobody ever pushed it on me. And I think it was just because I've always been very like confident and firm in that aspect of my life.
Yeah.
So it never became an issue. The only time I remember feeling not even pressured, it was just how do you describe it? So let me just explain the story. It was actually at Lips. I think it's called Lips here. It's a drag queen show in Atlanta.
Uh-huh.
And I went for my coworker slash friend's birthday. And the drag queen, whoever was serving us, I didn't want any alcohol. I said, "Oh no, I'm good. Like water's fine." And she made like a face at me, which pissed me off. Like
Uh-huh.
it just ruined my night. Like because she like made some joke about me being like not drinking, which to me was just like very rude. And then
Yeah.
I also at the time was vegetarian. And so I ordered like something and I said, "Oh no, no meat or whatever it was to make it vegetarian." And she again like did a low jab at me to like insult because I'm not drinking, because I'm not eating meat.
Yeah.
And yeah, so it was just like, ooh. I remember that I didn't want to drink or anything like that. It was just that pissed me off. That's the only time that I've had like a negative experience with, somebody not supporting it, I suppose. And some people will ask like, "Oh, why don't you drink?" Like it's such a shocking thing, which like why? I just don't want to drink.
Yeah.
So, but it's never been an issue with like peer pressure, which is good.
There's like a vegan not drinking connection that I've noticed. I wonder if you've noticed it too. Like I kind of get the same line of questioning and storytelling from people
Mm,
when I tell them I'm vegan that I get when I tell them I don't drink.
yeah,
Like this, like, well, I only eat meat such and such a times, or oh, I really should, or oh, I only like they'll start telling me about their drinking or their meat eating as if
yeah.
I had asked, or like as if I'm judging them because of whatever choice I'm making. And
Hmm.
there's been times in my life that I've been a bit more judgmental about people who aren't vegan, but it was
Yeah.
a vegan episode. But so I could sort of understand if people knew me, especially back then when I was much more outspoken about it. But
Hmm.
the drinking, I'm often just like, can we just I just don't drink. Like,
Yeah.
why are you
Yeah.
asking me? Because I'm so used to I just don't drink. Like,
Hmm.
yeah, I don't need you to not drink or to drink. Although, like, I don't, I start to feel a little uncomfortable around people who are drinking. Not like I'm gonna drink, but just in this way of like, oh, so you're going to that different place now. I
Hmm.
don't know how to describe it. Do you know at all what I'm talking about with that?
Yeah, I really don't mind. For me, I'm very like flexible depending on the crowd that I'm with.
Hmm.
So I can match their energy with no alcohol, with no substance in me. So like I used to with my coworkers, the same one who I went to Kiss with, I think it's called Lips. I think it's Lips, right? Her and the other girls, and even like the owners of the company that we worked at, they were heavy drinkers when we would go out. And they would get wild, like screaming, chaotic. We were probably so annoying, but I could match that energy. Like just it was just funny to me. Like they were funnier because of them drinking. And
Oh
so
yeah.
I'm just laughing along, like having a grand old time drinking my water.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
so I don't mind it. It just depends on the people who I'm around. Like if it's people who are either I'm not close to or if they're doing like really stupid shit, then that's different. But if it's like you're just making me laugh, you're not really being harmful in any way, then it's fine with me. But I think, yeah, sometimes there's certain people who start to get a little like, all right,
Yeah.
like I can't match your energy right now type of
Yeah.
thing. So, and I'm around it so I do like going to raves. It's not that I go very frequently, but obviously drinking and drugs are huge in that world. And I don't love it, but it doesn't really bother me. Like I've seen all the types of drugs at those shows and whatever, like as long as nobody, like I'm not going to take anything or drink anything. So,
Yeah.
but they're just, floating in their own little world, so it's fine.
I think that's an interesting thing. When I was talking about numbers, the place in Houston that I was going when I was like really in that world. And the way I said, like, I sort of started feeling guilty about saying that, oh, well, everyone there was on drugs or, everybody was taking a lot of drugs. But now that I'm sober, I when I say that, I'm like, maybe not. Like at the time, I thought everyone was just taking a lot of drugs and drinking.
Hmm.
Like I didn't
Hmm.
really get how unusual it was that I was drinking so much,
Yeah.
drinking to the point where it's like barfing most of the time.
Hmm.
Um, but I'm sure there were probably plenty of sober people that were going to that club.
Yeah.
I just,
They probably are.
yeah,
Yeah.
and they just were doing their own thing. And probably that thing, why is everyone assuming that I'm going to be drinking tonight? Like,
Hmm.
kind of like weird.
Yeah. No, it seems like for the most part, like most people at those raves and stuff have a drink in hand at least. But yeah, I think there may be more people. It's hard to tell, of course, but just
Yeah.
because everybody, when it's like comes to dancing and stuff, like almost everybody looks drunk. So
Yeah.
it's like it's hard to tell. But yeah, no, it doesn't really bother me. And as long as it's, yeah, you're not going to drive, you're
Hmm.
not going to be obnoxious, which usually that does end up happening with certain crowds.
Yeah.
But I do prefer to be around people that are not like heavily drinking, of course. So
Yeah.
it's not really an issue these days. I was thinking of this earlier. So do you still at this point, and you maybe you don't, but do you ever crave alcohol? Like you are like, oh, a drink would be really good right now?
No, I think I
Okay.
really just like took that out of my reality in a way. I think when I first got sober, I was sober before I went to AA for about a year. I had a therapist that kind of like eased me into getting sober in a way,
Hmm.
like without telling me he thought I was an alcoholic.
Yeah.
It's a very like interesting thing that happened. So then when I went to AA finally, I was a little like, well, I've already been sober a
Hmm.
year. So I had a hard time. I was like, maybe I should can drink because I didn't have any of these problems. I did it by myself for a
Mm.
year. And there was a period in there that I kind of like had to like super simplify it. And we talked about this a little before when we were thinking of our different names about like, and I had to actually make it very black and white. And like, okay, so maybe I'm not alcoholic, but is my life better right now because I'm not drinking?
Hmm.
Yes, like 100%.
Yeah.
So you don't drink.
Hmm.
And
I
just
love that.
yeah, and like making that kind of thing that simple and just for so many years of just considering my identity as a sober person,
Hmm.
it doesn't even really cross my mind.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah. No, that's good.
if I would even when like I think I do have like fleeting thoughts of like, oh, maybe not that I want to drink, but that like, it might be nice to just be able to go get a drink with somebody or that kind of
Hmm.
thing. But I think it automatically just switches to like, let's not, no, let's not go there.
Yeah.
Didn't work
Yeah.
out so well. Long time ago, my life is fine without drinking. It's great.
Hmm.
So there's no reason to add that back.
Yeah. Yeah. I know that my mom still feels like I've heard her say even recently, like after a stressful day or something, like she sometimes does want that, like, oh, a drink would be great, like really good right now. And to me, that's wild. Like,
Yeah,
because I guess I've always coped in healthy ways, which is either working out or I'll just like go to sleep or
yeah,
so yeah, I just think that's interesting. Like I've obviously, since I've never drank, that's never been a solution for me, but I don't think that's normal to think that like, oh, a drink would be so good right now. Like I think that's still a alcoholic tendency, I would assume.
yeah. I think also I didn't drink to wind down. Like I drank to get. Are we? Do
Wasted.
we say bad words on our podcast? I was just about to.
Yeah, yeah.
I'll say effed up. I mean,
Okay.
my goal every time I drank was to get wasted.
Hmm.
Like it wasn't like, oh, I'm just gonna relax with a nice glass of wine. Like I was like, we're gonna go tequila shots, or they've got a drink special at this bar, so let's
Yeah.
go there first, so we can get totally hammered before we go to the place we want to go. So I think I just never had that. Like
Yeah.
it was never like a let's relax kind of thing for me. It was like let's go
Hmm.
totally wild now.
Yeah, that's crazy. Would you have hangovers, I'm assuming?
Yeah. Yeah. It was bad. Like, and there were, oh, there's so many stories. Like when I was taking drugs, there were
Hmm.
a couple of times that I would still be high or like messed up on
Hmm.
whatever it was I'd done. Like there was a day I worked, I won't go into the whole story, but my first day working at Crate and Barrel,
Oh
the
no.
Galleria in Houston, I was still tripping
Oh
on
no.
LSD from the night before.
Uh-huh.
It was just, but I was sober enough to know, like, you're acting weird. Like, you can't talk. Like, I was, and maybe I wasn't as bad as I thought, but I was so paranoid about people noticing that I was still on drugs.
Hmm.
I would, that I was just probably being weirder by not like saying things. I don't know how to
Hmm.
describe that any better, but
No, no, that makes sense.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. It's so weird to think of that because I like, it's such a different person than who I am now.
right. No, that's really good. The only So yeah, the other thing I think, like I was saying before, alcohol is like one of the worst things for you. So that's a big thing for me too, is like the health side of it. I also, since I have Crohn's, that's like I was diagnosed fairly recently, so that's not why I don't drink. But if I were to drink with Crohn's disease, like that's a huge no-no. But I think drugs are better than alcohol. Like certain drugs would be better. I don't do drugs. Even when I was younger, never did smoked weed or any of that. All I've taken are like Delta 8 gummies. Have you taken Delta 8?
No.
Yeah, those are like, I don't even like that. So I actually take a small bite of a gummy each night for sleeping, but I don't feel any like effects from it, like the highness from it. But if I take a whole gummy, can't do it. Like I don't understand how people enjoy that. It causes a lot of anxiety for me. One time I took a strong one and I was by myself. I did not expect that. And I had to hide my phone from myself because I was about to call 911 because I was like, thought I was dying.
Oh,
Yeah, and I'm like, you're fine, you're fine. So that's like the furthest I've gone, and that's very, I don't take it for enjoyment. Yeah,
I don't even mess with CBD, anything like that. For whatever
I
reason,
do like
like,
CBD.
yeah, for whatever reason, I'm just like, uh, let's not,
Hmm.
let's not even like go into that gray area.
Yeah, yeah.
Like
I
for
think
me, yeah,
CBD's but like CBD has no THC in it, So that I've taken that for like headaches. I bought a balm recent. I always have a balm on stock, like the
yeah,
cream or whatever for my headaches to put on my head. That helps pretty well. But like CBD is fine. I can take that because that's just like to help with pain relief or calming down, whatever. But with the Delta 8, Delta 9s, that definitely causes a high, and I don't like it.
yeah,
Causes a lot of anxiety for me, so
it's a trip.
feels weird. It is a trip, literal trip. Yeah. I
Because I
like not drinking. I feel like I'm a very different person just in general from most people, to be honest. And I don't know if that sounds weird, but I don't really ever fit in with any type of persona, I guess I could say. It's kind of a struggle. I think drinking makes things easier for people, but I never have cared about that. I never wanted to drink. I never wanted to fit in with people who were drinking or like felt like I had to. I really like it. Like I love having the clarity in my mind. Uh, like not I can remember all of my nights. Nothing bad will happen to me because I didn't put myself in that situation. So I that's what I love about it. Like just having the control of my body and being okay with that too. Because I think some people really struggle with feeling like they need to drink in order to fit in or that they can't have fun without drinking. And I just don't feel that whatsoever. Like I feel like I can be a blast without drinking. So it's kind of nice.
yeah. When you were saying that, I think having had that experience of being out of control when I was
Hmm.
drinking, I think there is like a thing that I really love still is like, I'm pretty sure what's going to be happening tonight. Like,
Hmm.
I'm not going to. like have like a wildly unexpected event happen or some
Yeah.
terrible thing happen
Hmm.
that was like common when I was drinking. Like often it was a lot of fun and like I really loved those friends. I'm still friends with a lot of them. And
Hmm.
they're also gotten sober or, obviously not.
Yeah, it's good.
But I think just that like there's that I mean I hear it a lot, but I originally heard it from AA, that thing of like the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again expecting a different result.
Hmm.
I think like not having that part of insanity is like really great.
Yeah.
Things I love about being sober. Just not having to like yeah, there was a lot of like kind of lying to myself about like, well, I was able to not drink for a whole month. So that means it's okay to go drink tonight and it's going to be
Mm.
fine. And then the next day being like, how did I get home last night? Like, and then having flashbacks about, oh my God, did I really like XYZ? These things I start remembering I had done the night before.
Hmm.
I really appreciate not having those moments.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And I never even still I don't go out too often anyway. And
Mhm.
when I was younger, even in college, I didn't go out like at all. I didn't go to my first club until I was like 23, and I really didn't enjoy it. So, like it's just too many people. If there's smoking in there, like cigarettes, I don't like that.
Yeah.
Um, the raves are as long as the music is fine, like if I like the DJ and stuff, I'm okay. But if it's like certain genres of EDM, the crowd is different. And I don't know, in Atlanta lately, they've been very crowded. And that scares me, like just crowds in general, because I'm very tiny. So everybody, I'm 4'10", so my eyes are at people's like chest or like their shoulders. So it's when there's a whole crowd of people around me,
Oh
I'm
yeah.
like, okay, let me dissociate real quick.
Yeah, that would
Um,
be yeah.
yeah. So I think for those times, that's why some people do drink in those situations, is to relax or feel more comfortable in a hyper crowd. Um, but yeah, I don't go too often, so it's not really my thing.
Yeah, I don't
Um,
go out as much as I used to. I mean, I think that just happens as people get older, but
mhm. My mom went to a rave with me,
oh, she did?
like 3 years ago. Yeah,
Did you like it?
yeah, she loved it. It's because she likes the same music I do, like EDM, certain DJs. Yeah, and she went. That was until she was not as tired as I was. Like, because you go at like doors open at 10 p.m. The show ends by like 3 a.m. Which that's part of the reason why I don't go very often. Like that, I'm in bed by 10 p.m., And yeah, we stayed the whole time, like until 3 a.m. And then the next day she went to work. I took the day off. I had like a headache. The whole weekend
Uh-huh.
I was out and she was like, "Oh, I'm fine." And
Oh,
she's
that's
in her
really cool.
60s. Yeah, I was like, "Well, something's wrong with me." Yeah, no, she really liked it. And she did not drink, of course. Like we were just together. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah. And somebody gave, I don't know if you're familiar with EDM, like that world, but they
That's
do these
vaguely.
bracelets. And you can like, I think it's like peace, love, harmony or something like that. And then you put the bracelet on the other person. And some girl did that with my mom. It's like a rave culture thing. I don't know, but yeah,
Oh, that's
it
so
was
cool.
cute.
It's so I don't think I've ever been to a rave, and I feel like when I was still going out, raves were a thing.
Yeah.
I think I was just in my own like sort of cycle of the clubs I went to.
Hmm.
And when did rave start? 90s? Mid 90s?
Probably even before, I would say 90s, because that's like I even now still listen to like 90s techno or trance.
Yeah.
That's good music. It's big here. Atlanta's pretty like the gay culture is pretty large here, like especially Midtown. So it's a lot of gay people who go there. I know that. Like they're dancing together and stuff, I can tell.
Yeah.
So it's a pretty big culture just in general.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I like raves. They're fun just for the music. I think that's everything with the alcoholism. Yeah, I just grew up with a very negative experience around it, and I can't say I don't want to say too much further beyond what I've already said.
Maybe just to add, in case
Hmm.
anyone's watching this who might want to reach out about their own drinking for whatever reason, I'm available for that. So
Awesome.
Yeah. I think it's something that has helped me over the years is to help other people who,
Hmm.
yeah. So I just felt like saying that. If anybody's
Yeah.
out there, reach out. It's okay. All the things, click like, subscribe, hit the button,
Yes. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening.
leave a review.
Leave
Thanks
a
for being
review,
here. Yeah. And also
positive.
comments. We would love to hear your experience with any of this stuff. So
Hmm.
feel free to comment wherever you're listening.
Yes.
And that's it. We did
Thank
it.
y'all.
Thanks for watching and listening.